I'd now like to introduce David Borrowman. David is a photographer, chair of the Salt Spring Arts Council. He's a former diplomat and also served 2 terms as an island trustee. And we'd like you, David, to answer the question, is municipal government compatible with the trust? In 2 minutes, please.
It had better be a good question. I wrote it. Thank you for coming. Without going too much into the mantra that we all know about the trust, the magnificence of the original 1974 legislation brought about unanimously by the entire House of NDPers who were the government of the day, the social creditors who by that time were in opposition but had in fact initiated the trust idea, and the Liberals Party of the day who were in the House. Municipalities were a latecomer. They were not in the original vision for the Islands Trust. Municipalities were inserted in the 1990 legislation under the Rita Johnson government, another social credit government. I won't go into all of the ins and outs. That would take far too long. But I question how municipalities got in there, and for those of you who are curious, maybe you'll dig a bit further. The great principle that the trust legislation established was that planning, land use planning, would be separated from services. And indeed, people would be elected separately, entirely for that purpose. The 5 regional districts around the Gulf would provide our services. Ours is the CRD. There are 4 more. But here's one way to think of the Islands Trust. Think of it as a regional district for the purposes of land use and planning. Our local trust committee, all 3 of them, have the authority of a regional district for land use and planning. That is zoning, the system of development permits, the tremendous innovations that have been brought in on this island, like density transfer and amenity zoning, which are envied and copied elsewhere. These are all initiatives that have come out of this original magnificent idea. Now, what a municipality does is put planning and services back under the same roof. As we have started to hear this evening, the same people doing the services are doing the planning. Planning tends to come off second. The 2 trustees on town council may be quite forceful. They may be in a significant minority. And remember, a town council is really a system of government by 4 people, because it takes a majority of 4 only to pass measures affecting the island. The practical bargain that was made with the province at the time the trust came into existence was that the province would pay the road costs and much of the policing costs. That would take the islands off the development treadmill. They were not always looking over their shoulder, wondering where the next tax dollar was going to come from to pay for, in our case, a road system with more linear kilometerage to it than the city of Victoria, spread over an area 9 times the size, with 1/8 the population as a tax base. So what incorporation does is it puts us back on the development treadmill, because although we're assured that we would elect nothing but 7 perfectly green, trust-loving town councillors, those perfectly green people would spend all their time looking over their shoulder, wondering how the heck to pay for those roads. And they could do so in 2 ways. They could come to you for tax dollars, or they could seek new development, always chasing the next tax dollar, fresh development, If you're the village of Crofton, you've got Crofton Mill, which supports much of the town. We have a 95% residential tax base. So I would argue, and I fault the Islands Trust itself for not being more astute about this, I would argue that municipal government is not compatible with the trust area. It unravels the idea. It unravels the magnificent principle of 1974. Thanks.